kind of bring your walls of protection and barrier down, which is kind of what I want to talk about today. Is all of us have these walls and barriers of protection. We have it all the time. We have it when we meet new people. We have it when we go to a job interview. We have it when we interview people for a job. We have it when we go on a first date. We have it when we're hanging out with neighbors we don't know. We always have these walls. We always have these things that kind of block who we really are because we're scared to show our true selves. We're scared to be our true selves out there in the world. And that's unfortunate. We can't be that way. I try to tell my kids, just be you. It doesn't matter who you are or what you do. As long as you try to be kind to people and elevate people in this world, you've got to stay true and be to your true self. And too many times people aren't doing that. Too many times people are being something they're not. And look, we all are guilty of that. You can't sit here and fucking tell me that I've never been like, I have been something I'm not. I've got uncomfortable, insecure, and put in positions where I'm like, shit, I got to try to do this and I got to find my way through. I mean, I had identity issues, losing $1 billion company, losing $400 million and being a CEO of large companies back was tough. It was like, shit, what do I do now? Right? I know I got this podcast. I know I've done some TV with 2 Minute Drill. I got that. But what do I do now? How do I handle life now? And it was really an identity crisis for me. But how many of us out there really, we go through this all the time? Maybe you move into a new neighborhood and you got a community party you're going to and you're like, I don't know anybody there. I'm not going to go. Well, I recommend you go. But then the problem is when you go, you don't talk to anybody. And then you get mad 'cause nobody talked to you and you think they're stuck up, but maybe you're stuck up because you didn't talk to anybody. I tell my wife this shit all the time. She gets upset with people sometimes that don't reach out to her. They're like, well, they're going out and doing this. They didn't reach out to me. I said, honey, that thing swings both ways. Like, do you ever reach out? Well, no, usually they're the ones who reach out. Well, dude, that's bullshit. Like, it takes two to tango. It takes two to hang out. It takes two to have a relationship. It takes two to be friends. Like, you've got to be able to do it both ways. Yes, usually there's a common one or a dominant one that is more aggressive or more, hey, let's do things, more of the appointment setter, more of the planner, more of the take the bull by the horns person. But you've got to come out of your box. You've got to sit here because what happens is you end up looking like you've got resting bitch face. You end up looking like you've got resting fuck off face where you're just sitting there. And I know I'm unapproachable. Like I just had a meeting earlier today with one of Christian's football coaches, nice guy. And he's telling me, he's like, look, I didn't know what to expect. I was told like, hey, you're going to work with Jayson. Like, you know, he says some things to rub people the wrong way. Certain parents get upset with him, like all of these things. And I'm like laughing. He's like, but really you're cool. And it's like, I become unapproachable, right? I box myself in and become unapproachable to people. And I don't purposely do it. And I'm sure a lot of you don't purposely do stuff like this, but it happens because, you know, we're comfortable and we don't know these people and who's going to say the thing first. And, you know, really like sometimes the conversations I have with people, I'm just keeping it straight. Like sometimes these conversations with people, I feel like, we're not on the same level to have a conversation. So I struggle with that. Like I like to be around like-minded people, people that have the same kind of success that I have or the same kind of struggles that I have that are relatable to me. And that doesn't mean a lot of people have only been millionaires or whatever, made $1 billion. No. I'm talking about people that have real life struggles. Like it's hard for me to want to hang out with like some single 24-year-old that's out chasing tail all the time. Like that's not my dude, right? It's hard for me to hang out with some 75-year-old that all their kids and grandkids have moved out. Like that's not my people. And there's nothing against that. It's just saying you got to find people relatable. But the point is you're going to be alone. If you keep your walls up and you keep that boundary up and you keep all this protection up, you're going to be more alone than not. And so back in the day when I ran an alarm company, right? We used to have, you know, door knockers, right? They go knock and sell deals, or even people that sold deals over the phone. And, you know, when they did that, everybody in the company, we'd have a meeting every month. And I did this for years. We'd have a meeting every month and we'd have a money wheel that you spin. And so we would go and I would call, I'd say, Lucy, you've been a rock star last month. Maybe Lucy was in customer service. Maybe Lucy was in fucking sales. Maybe she was in marketing. Maybe she was in wherever she was, it didn't matter, right? But I would call on Lucy or somebody to come up and spin that money on that money wheel. They would spin the money wheel and they would have to dance in between. So they'd have to dance on their way to the money wheel and then they'd have to dance while it's spinning. And a lot of people are like, I don't know what to win money. Well, you could win anywhere from like $5 to $500 at any given time. And I did this on purpose and, you know, making people dance, come out of their skin, making it uncomfortable, making you making you put yourself out there, because I believe when people do that, they're more successful. I believe when people do that, their ego kind of goes to the side. They're more vulnerable and they're able to relate to people, and people will talk to them more. And so a big thing that I used to do in my old company was making people dance to come up, spin the wheel, and then after they spun the wheel to dance. And I think that is important. I know that's a small, simple, stupid thing, but it's no different than when I'm talking about our adult game night. Like when we're sitting there on the adult game night, and we're sitting there, people are having to get uncomfortable. They pick something really nasty that they've got to act out in front of their spouse and neighbors and friends. And it's like, shit, what do I do? Can I handle this? Yeah. So it is uncomfortable. Some people really, they don't want to, like, some people are like, that ain't for me. And that's okay. Not everybody's built for shit like that. But I believe when you take chances like that and you make yourself vulnerable and you're able to communicate with people and loosen up with people, like, you ever hear the thing like, I need a few drinks to do that. That's because you're bringing that guard down. Right? That's because you're putting those walls and you're breaking them down so you can be relatable to people and communicate with people more. It's no different than doing adult game night that we have, right? That's kind of inappropriate, making them come out of their skin in front of their neighbors and spouses. It's no different than we would have our employees, have to dance to come up, right? They're uncomfortable dancing, spin the wheel and dance to get the money. But that's kind of my belief. And I talk about that because perception could be reality. See, the perception of you, the perception of people out there, it starts to become the other person who's perceiving that. It starts to become their reality. And so if you sit around and you don't talk to people because you're shy, people could actually think you're stuck up and that you got resting bitch face. But really, it's because you're shy. So how do we break that shyness? How do we break that part where you don't have resting bitch face, where you're not sitting there seeming like you're aggravated or better than somebody or treating somebody like shit, right? Or being stuck up. And it goes across, like, I'm telling you, like, my wife always gets, well, that person didn't even speak to me. Well, you didn't fucking speak to them, right? I don't give a fuck what room I walk in. I don't care how much money you got. I don't care if you're a billionaire. I don't care if you're broke as shit and you're homeless. Like, if I like you, I'm talking to you. And I'm an outgoing dude. I'm not going to feel uncomfortable. I'm not going to feel, less than. I'm not going to feel intimidated. I'm going to be super secure. But not everybody's built that way. Not everybody has that kind of confidence or can, make themselves do that. The point to this show right today is, in Perception Could Be Reality, is how are you going to break down those walls? How are you going to put yourself out there more, whether it's in business, whether it's in relationships, whatever it is? How are you going to put yourself out there is what's important, because a lot of people, they just don't. And they sit in there and then they stew and they think people don't like them. And really it's people that think that they don't like those people. And it's the chicken and the egg, and who's wrong and who's right and who's going to go out there. And so I'm just trying to coach people up to say, listen, when you get in a situation, you're at a community event in your neighborhood, you don't know many people. You're at a birthday party for kids, you don't know many people. You're at a work event, you don't know many people. You're at a networking event, you don't know many people. Like, put yourself out there. Talk to somebody. Hey, I love your shoes. Hey, where are you from? Oh my God, I love your accent. Put yourself out there and watch what happens. All of a sudden, their guard comes down and they start talking, because everyone comes in there with their guard up. I teach this in sales all the time. When you go into a home to sell anything, those people have their guard up. You have to make a friend and communicate with them for their guard to come down and for you to do a better job. It's no different than when you're making friends, or you're communicating in an adult game night, or you're communicating at a school event, or you're communicating at a work event or a networking event. It's no different than that, but you've got to learn to bring your guard down. You've got to learn to make that perception that could be reality, not reality. You got to make that perception be different about yourself, because you can't sit here and you can't complain and point fingers and say, you know what? Nobody likes me and they're all just fucking stuck up. Well, maybe you're the one that's stuck up. Nobody feels this way. Maybe you're the one that's acting that way. You can't sit here and blame everybody else if you're not putting the effort in. It's different if you try to talk to people, if you try to communicate to people, if you reach out to people, if you're doing all these things and then they're shutting you down and they're like, fuck that, I don't want to hang with you, I don't want to do these things. Like, all right, well, then they're fucking dickheads. Straight up dickheads, fine. Go be a dickhead. But if you're not doing any of those things and they're not doing any of those things and you're getting upset and you're getting frustrated and you're feeling like, what the fuck? Like, do they not like me? And you start getting insecure, or you feel like they're judging you, or you feel like that they're literally not giving you the time of day and they have resting bitch face. Well, listen, if you're not putting any effort in, it's the same thing for you. You actually need to look in the fucking mirror. Somebody's got to put their guard down and put themselves out there. That's how it is in every aspect of life. I call it kissing the babies. That's right. Sometimes babies. You've got to kiss the babies. And you don't know what kind of babies you're kissing, but you're out there putting in the effort. It's like politics, right? It's like politicians. They go out there and love and shake hands and kiss the babies. They got to put themselves out there. So people are like, yeah, I like this person. You've got to do the same thing. You've got to do the same thing. I tell my son all the time, he goes to the football team. I don't know all these kids. I don't give a shit. Get to know them. Go out. Hey, I'm Christian. How are you? Like, you got to put yourself out there. Then their guard comes down because everybody's like that. Everybody's got their guard up. Like they're worried somebody's going to see through them or somebody's going to feel like they're less than. And you've got to really quit thinking like that, because when you think like that, you get in your own mind and you go down a rabbit hole that you can't recover from. And all these people are like giving you shit and giving you a hard time in your mind. And that's really not happening. And they're like ignoring you, and that's really not happening. And so you're making something that's not there. I'm not saying everybody's nice, because I will say, I believe most people are good, but I also believe a very high percentage of people don't like to see people succeed, which is sad and broken in this world. Too many times people want to see people fail, and that's wrong. And those aren't my people. People that wish bad on people or want to see them fail, I don't like to hang out with those kind of people. And look, we've got a couple of those people married to some close people in my circle. I can't fucking stand those people. I'm like, I don't want to hang out with those people. Even though I love one of the people in a relationship or something, it's not that I dislike these people, but they're just so negative and they're so they're bitching and nothing's good enough and they complain. And it's just like, it's exhausting. It sucks all my good out and just makes me aggravated, right? But getting back to your life, getting back to your world, getting back to your relationship, getting back to where you work. Maybe you're going in there and you're like, man, I can't make any friends. I'm lonely. I can't find a way to communicate or be a part of something here, be a part of a group in here, make friends in the community. Like, trust me, I live in a community right now. And I'm sure some of the people in my community are watching this. And some are stuck up as fuck. And I could say that because I actually try to talk to motherfuckers. And like, I know people look at me and they go, okay, look at this asshole. He's been all over TV commercials, TV shows, got a podcast. He's, now he's got a reality TV show. He's built this big company, blah, 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 blah. I know some people look at me and they feel like I'm unapproachable. I know that. I know in my community, I know they gossip about me. They they talk like people, like I know, because certain people that I am close to tell me, they're like, yeah, that's all they say. And they think this and they think you're a dick. And like, they don't even fucking know me. But they think that because they don't know me, and there's an insecurity side of them. And so when I go to these community events, and I'll go into a community event and I don't really know anybody in my neighborhood, maybe one or two couples, and I'll be like purposely talking to people. And then all of a sudden they're completely different, or they're completely estranged, like bothered. And you just know that those are people that aren't your people. And you've got to understand that. Like, I had a party last year where I invited a bunch of neighbors I didn't know. And kudos to those that showed up. And I tried to network with my neighbors, like to let them know I'm not some stuck up son of a bitch, that, hey, I'm a normal person, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of them showed up. We hung out, talked. But then, that's the extent of it, right? You see them again, they'll wave, but I put some of that to bed. I changed some of the perception out there that people had about me. And I didn't do it for them. I did it for me because I want to try to make some friends in the neighborhood. And I wanted to try to like not be the person who has this guard up where I won't talk or communicate with people. But on the other token, I'm the one that talks and reaches out to them. They've got to make up their mind if they're going to keep their guard up or they're going to talk and communicate back. Right. So that's kind of why I would go to those events to start talking to folks. It's no different now when I look at it that, my wife's feelings get hurt more than mine. Like, a neighbor might throw a party and some neighbors are invited and we're not. She's like, that's just fucking wrong. Like, it's not wrong. Some people want to hang out with people who kiss their ass and are less than them. Think about that. How many times do you know people out there that will only hang out with people that they feel that they're better than? So the people that they're better than will kiss their ass. People like that. People in your circle that are like that. Like, I know people in my circle that when they go into their home, they'll come and hang out with me because they like me. But most of the time they want to like have people that will just kiss their ass and make them feel important, because people want to be valued and people want to feel important and people want to matter. And sometimes people feel like if they're with people with more than them or bigger light than theirs, they don't know how to shine their own light and they feel less than, and therefore they get insecure and they get resentful and they don't want to go hang out with certain people like that. That happens all the time. I've had some like close friends that would not become close friends as I would elevate in life and different things would happen and my light would shine a certain way. And if their light wasn't shining that way, they would get resentful. And I wouldn't even be a different person to them. I'd be the same person, inviting them to things, being kind, being polite. Hey, what can I do for you? All these things. But in their mind, I changed because my light got brighter, because my success got better. And so then they were like, oh, that motherfucker's changed. Like, how have I changed? I'm still the same son of a bitch, trailer park dude that I've always been, right? And so I don't understand. And so when you look at this, it's the same thing in any of your lives. I challenge each of you to not just hang out with people with less than you or that kiss your ass, but also hang out with people that you can chase. I'm a big believer of you want to put yourself in life in the middle. You want to have people chasing you or aspiring and inspired by you that you can bring up that ladder. And then you want to have people that you're chasing that you're inspired by and that you want to be elevated and see what they're doing and that you're pulling. But the problem is a lot of you are too fucking cocky, have too much ego, and you only care about yourself. That's the problem. Some of you got to do a mirror check and go, holy shit, my problem in life is me. My problem is I won't put my ego to the side and do anything. That's my problem. I'm sitting here in my own shit thinking my shit doesn't stink. And then I get aggravated with people that I'm not even given a chance to because I feel like, either they're too good for me or I'm too good for them. Listen, nobody's too good for anybody. You either like people or you don't like people. That's how this works. There is no in between. There is no difference, right? I've had friends from all over the spectrum, like literally all over the spectrum. And so each of them brings something value in my life that I like. And I hope I bring value to them in their life that they can benefit and like as well. And so, I go back to, you want to change the perception out there that people think of you, then you shouldn't do it because you're trying to get them to think differently of you. You should do it because you're creating that perception by not putting yourself out there, by being too shy, by putting a block up and not putting your walls down to communicate with people, by being nervous to talk to people, by, not taking risks, like, not being kind to people. You have to be able to communicate and do that. You have to be able to reach out and take chances. You have to be able to, like I said, put yourself out there. It's hard, but you've got to do it. That's how it works. I'm telling you, just from experience, that's the best thing you can do is go out there and do that. I'm about to take a pause here. So pause on the podcast. We're going to change something real quick on the live on TikTok, and we're going to end the TikTok one. Okay. And so make sure we edit this out of the podcast. And now we're going to do a live on Facebook. Okay. Live on Facebook right here. And we're going to do Unleashed Podcast Live. Okay. Put this back right here. Got that right there. There we go. Okay, I think we've got it. Nope, we don't. There we go. So, getting back to what I was saying, clap back in. All right, so we're back in here on the podcast. Clearly, if that perception isn't what you like, if that perception isn't true about you, you can do something about it. Now, you don't do something about it just because you give a shit what people think. Like, let me reiterate that. You don't have to care what people think. That's not the issue. Like, you don't have to go, oh, that's what they think about me. Like, I could give two fucks what they think about me. But on the other token, it is important that you're actually making a real effort in life to put yourself out there, to pull down those barriers and communicate with people. Because when you don't, you got resting bitch face or you got resting asshole face, then that's their perception and it becomes reality. That's what happens. And so in order to change that, like I said, you've got to make an effort. You've got to reach out. You've got to communicate. You've got to quit saying, well, they didn't call me, so I didn't call them. Bullshit. You called them. Well, they didn't invite me to this, so I didn't invite them. Bullshit. You invite them. The only way you break down those walls of getting over the perception that you're an asshole or that you're too good or that, you've got resting bitch face, whatever the perception is out there, and you're struggling in your community or your relationship or your business of communicating with people, is you got to bring down the guard and you got to be able to talk to people, and you have got to take chances. I keep saying, like, I'm telling you, I love my wife to death. She's guilty of this. She's one that gets aggravated if she's not invited somewhere or done something, but yet she's not a planner. She's not a, hey, let's go do this. She's the type that's like, no, I'll just wait. And then if she doesn't get invited, she gets pissed. I'm like, well, did you invite them to do anything? No. Well, no shit. So maybe you should communicate, invite them to do stuff if you want the same thing in return. Yeah, but I'm just not like that. Well, maybe they're not fucking like that. Right? So that's my whole point. Like, there's, whether you're going to school, whether you're going to work, whether you're in a community, you're going to a neighborhood event. Like I'm telling you, when I go to these neighborhood events, some of these motherfuckers, they don't want to talk to me. Like they either think I'm too good for them or they're judging me. And I don't give a shit. I act like anything. I'm like, hey, how are you doing? I'm this. And then some of them are like, hell yeah. And some of them are like, hell no. Right? So got a call right in between this. So that's the whole point is I would encourage everybody to really start breaking down that barrier, start breaking down that wall. Don't allow that to control or dictate who you are, how you communicate with people, what you're doing in life, because it's too many times in life. That's what happens is we get stuck in that box and we're not doing the things we need to do. The other thing I want to bring up. So we talked about, perception could be reality. Is, in life, we're going to make decisions sometimes that we don't like. And the problem is we worry about the decision we make so much that we're trying to change it in the middle of the decision that we've made. We make that decision and then we're like, oh shit. And you don't even give the decision a chance. Do me a favor. Relax. Be patient. And I need to listen to my own advice sometimes because I'm very impatient. But be patient. Let your decision, let your choice, let your process of what you're doing take fold. Let it come into play. It's very key. When you don't do that and you just rush into everything, it creates more problems than need be. Okay. Another thing I want to talk about, so we talked about perception. We talked about could be reality on the podcast. And, I want to make sure that you guys understand this isn't just a business and money podcast anymore. I want to talk about all kinds of things. I was talking about aliens, and my son wanted a telescope recently. And I put it in the cart to buy it a few days ago. So we'd have it by Friday. And then yesterday, which was Thursday, I'm like, dude, your thing's going to come tomorrow. And then he's like, oh, well, show me which one. And I never I never hit go. It's sitting in my cart. He's pissed. Like, you're coming on Monday now. And he was being a dick about it, right? He's rude about it. But the point is like, he's into telescopes. He's like, dude, it'll be cool if we get a telescope and we can look at things. And so I bought a really nice telescope so we can do it. I'm talking like $700 fucking telescope. Like we're going to do it up. And it's kind of cool. Like we're into this alien thing and we're into like, where we are in this world today and UFOs or whatever the fuck you want to call them now. Like we're big into that. Like I know that's some people don't want to talk about it. Like I love talking about aliens now. Like I'm all in. I just saw Brad Lee, a good friend of mine, talking about how he completely does not believe in evolution. He was like, hell no, show me the in-between apes and humans. Show me the in-between tigers and fucking birds. And I agree with him. Like I've said the same shit forever. Now, do I think some things evolve? Yeah, very minimal though. Like I think you evolve based on your environment. So maybe your hair, your skin, your eyes, things adapt to your environment. But do I think like we evolve completely as animals or humans? No. Like I think it's rare. Like, I think a bird is a bird. Maybe birds can change into different birds, but a bird's a bird. A monkey's a monkey. A human's a human. A gorilla's a gorilla, a tiger's a tiger. Now, maybe I'm fucking wrong. Scientists are right. And my opinion might not fucking matter. But I will tell you, I challenge everybody who believes in that theory of evolution, of where the fuck are the in-between apes and humans? And don't tell me the cavemen, because those motherfuckers aren't here. So how come there's nothing in between with like hairy ass hands and can half speak with big teeth, but is smart enough to be a human, drive a car and talk? Like how come we ain't got any of those motherfuckers? Right? How come we ain't got some in-between fish that are hopping around walking and like we don't got any of those motherfuckers? Like, because we don't, because it doesn't make sense. So like, I can't explain it. I just don't believe we all come from like fucking fish. Now, I will say this. there are certain kinds of people that look like in different parts of the world of maybe where they came from, right? Like if you come from an animal, you know, where and what animals could it have been? Like, you know, some people say we came from fish. Fish? Like real fish? Okay, well, I don't look like a fish. I don't think I came from fish. Some people say we came from monkeys. Well, I don't think any humans really kind of look like monkeys. I don't see any resemblance at all, except our thumbs fucking doing the thumb thing. Other than that, like, you know, ain't nobody got no hair on their body like that, and they ain't got fucking giant teeth like that. So I don't see it. So it's hard for me to believe in the evolution thing about where or what animals we actually came from. It doesn't click for me. It just doesn't make sense for me on how people think that. Now, like I said, motherfucker, I didn't even go to college, right? I'm the first one to tell you, like, I'm the wrong son of a bitch to have the answers for this stuff. But it doesn't make sense in certain things for me, like how they say that. And like, look, could we have aliens or people that lived underwater? Sure. Like, could we have like mermaid people? I mean, I'm not saying no. I mean, they say Atlantis was underwater. I think that's what they say. And, you know, I hear these mermaid things going on. Like, I could see that. Could there be aliens in the ocean? Sure. Like, I disagree. Me and my wife argue about this sometimes. She thinks there's alien life and, you know, everything in the ocean more than it is out in space. And I disagree. I think there's shit we don't know in the ocean. And my daughter thinks that too, my 16-year-old, and she's really, really smart. She thinks that, I forgot what it's called, but it's as low as it can go and everything changes. She thinks this giant dinosaur shark is down there, and that aliens could be down there, a different human species down there. Not really human, but, you know, I guess like amphibian human type species down there living. But then I'm like, well, then what do they do? Why come they ain't coming out of the ocean? Like, do they look at the ocean like we look at the space? And they're like, oh, I can't go out there. Like, I mean, this shit's mind blowing, right? I don't think that's the case. Like, to me, it seems more like, if you don't know, check out Dolores Cannon and her seeds. But it seems more like there's a God figure, or God, because I believe in God. And all the angels, which could be aliens, came here millions of years ago. And millions of years ago to us is like days to them. And they planted seeds to let life grow here. And this is a free will world. And, you know, when a meteorite hit, it created bad bacteria on this world. So they had to get involved. So if you go like to the Aztecs, they got a sun god, and you go to the Egyptians and they've got some of their gods that they believe in. And you go to the Greeks, they got like, and so my belief, which is what she talks about, is that these aliens or angels, right, from heaven, or our God figure, came down and helped humans out with the pyramids and the Aztecs, and certain times in our being that this was happening, that it allowed, you know, hey, all of a sudden you're getting this technology and doing that. And they still left it free will, because I think that's how this was done. It's like, look, this is a free will planet. Other planets might not be, but this one is. So you can't help make them decisions, but you can help show them things. And that's why you got all these figurines, you know, during the Egyptians and Aztec days, of like people that coming out of space and that are just different, and all the technology. Like, to me, that makes the most sense. Or what if aliens are our souls in the future coming back to see us from the past? That's another thing can be mind-boggling. Like, wow, right? So I'm not here just to talk about aliens, right? I talk about everything else. But that shit's been on my mind lately. I've been thinking about, like, wow, I'm just intrigued. I want more. I just want to learn more about it, about the aliens and about all the things out there that we're starting to figure out in life. Because think about the technology in our lifetime that is like just craziness. Like, planes flying still baffles me, but what baffles me more is taking our phones and taking a picture, and that magically through the invisible sky being a data packet into the satellite and coming back down and then transposing into your computer or phone. To me, that's just fucking crazy. Like, I know we're used to it. It's still mind-boggling to me. It's just crazy to me. How is that even possible? We're watching TV and we're taking a picture somewhere, putting a satellite, come back like an invisible packet. So we're walking through all these invisible packets of data that's probably not healthy. If you think about it, shit's probably killing us and we don't even know, right? So, Not to get off subject, I want to get back real quick to perception could be reality. And that's when you're talking about aliens, what's the perception here could also be reality. And you dictate what you do in your life. You dictate what people think about you. And if you don't like what people think about you, really, you shouldn't care. You shouldn't be like, oh my God, I'm so upset what people think about me. That shouldn't be your reason to change. The reason you should want to change is because you want to have relationships with people, because you want people in your life, because you want to be able to elevate people and help people and then elevate and help you. And the only way to really do that, like I said, is put your guard down, start being vulnerable and start talking to them and make yourself not have resting bitch face. Make yourself not so stuck up. Make yourself approachable. I'm telling you, I'm guilty of that. People have told me for years, like, you're so unapproachable. Really? Yeah. I didn't realize that. I had people come up to me at the gym. I just had a guy come up to me at the gym today and was like, hey, I've always wanted to come up and talk to you. Like, I know you do coaching and mentoring. He's an older gentleman, very nice guy. And he's like, I'd love you to mentor me. I do this and I do some cabinetry and I run a cabinet business and I build this up. And I just was like, but he's like, I wanted to approach you and I didn't. It made me feel like a dick. Like, why wouldn't this guy want to approach me before? Why didn't he approach me before? So those are the things that pop up in my head. Like, hey, I've got to do a better job of being more approachable. So I would challenge everybody out there that if you want to change that perception to be reality, you got to be more approachable. You got to quit having resting bitch face. You got to be talking to people and communicating to people and not letting them think that you're higher or lower than them, that it doesn't matter. None of that matters. It's just communication. And so that's one of the things that I've been really trying to work on is smiling more so I don't have a resting asshole face and going in and chatting with people more, because a lot of people are like, oh, I didn't know what to expect. And when I talk to you, I'm like, oh, this guy's actually a nice guy. I get this shit all the time. And I'm like, what do I have? Fuck you, I'm an asshole on my face. Like, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but I just don't want to interfere your space. You interfere my space. So I'm starting to learn like, hey, maybe I've got to interview. Hey, man, how are you doing? Like, maybe I've got to start talking to people rather than waiting for people talking to me, right? Maybe that's what I have to do to break down that barrier and that wall, that perception of who or what I really am. And so that's why I challenge you. Maybe you're in relationships. Maybe you're at business, work. Maybe you go to a community thing and you're trying to meet neighbors, whatever it is. You're going to church and you want to meet more people, make more friends, be able to collaborate and have relationships with folks. If you're sitting here waiting for someone just to communicate with you all the time, they may be doing the same thing. So I encourage you to put your pride, your ego, your fear to the side and go out there and just talk to people, communicate to people, ask them how they're doing. Hey, I like that. I like this. Like, just try, watch what happens. People light up. So I'm starting to do that a lot. And I would encourage you to do that a lot. Make sure you check out the podcast. I've got to go. Got to wrap up for something right now for a shower dinner thing. But here's what I would say. Stay focused, stay positive, stay funny, keep fucking laughing. Like, I've tried to loosen up a lot more lately, especially the shows. Like, we've been talking about everything and anything. It's just been it's been a hoot. And so I would say that you got to do the same thing. Stay happy, stay focused, stay funny, stay relevant. Keep changing that perception. Take a chance out there. Don't sit there and box yourself in of not communicating with people. Put yourself out there to communicate with people and help elevate them. Check out the new show, Unleashed, and also be ready to check out. Hey, you have an outstanding weekend too, John. Be willing to check out after this podcast drops next week. The Bam Fam reality TV show will be on Amazon in December. And I'm trying to get all I can ready to watch that show so we can pick up season 2 and 3, either with TLC or Bravo. We've got a lot of filming coming up in the next couple of weeks. I'm super excited about that. Camera crews all over the place. I mean, it's going to be dope, but it's a cool show. And if you don't know what it's about, building businesses, losing $400 million, crashing $1 billion company because assholes over in Wisconsin, and doing other things, helping this other business grow, building a podcast. But guess what? That's only 30% of it. Then it goes home to my crazy ass family, my wife who's dealt with my shit for 20 something years, my 3 daughters and my son, my grandkids. How does that look? How can I be a solution-based person who's all about solutions and no comfort? And I go home and they're fiending for comfort. And I'm trying to learn to give comfort and empathy and sympathy. And so this whole dynamic is there. And I might be this big boss here and I go home and I ain't shit. So all of that is tied into the show, and it's really good stuff. And so, we've seen some of the clips. And it's been entertaining and fun, and it's not scripted. People always ask, was it scripted? No, I mean, sometimes you have to redo things that happened the day before they didn't film, but no, it's legit, and it's been a good time filming it, and I know it's gonna do well. Super excited. Amazon Prime's given us the chance to do this show, and we've got a great team, PR team. So I'll be doing a lot of interviews, OK Magazine, some of these other things coming out. Watch out for that, talking about the show. But hey, be ready for the show. It's going to be exciting. We're filming it here all over in Davidson and Mooresville, North Carolina, next few weeks. And then that show, they should be editing the trailer soon. And then we'll be putting that show out in December, and I'll be doing what they call a rodeo. I'll be going out to different stations, networks, magazines, promoting the show, getting ready to explode the show. So super excited about that. The Unleashed podcast, that's this podcast I'm recording now. It comes out next week. Make sure you check that out. We talked about a bunch of things on here, and we did a quick live on TikTok for a little bit, and then finished up with a live on Facebook. And so, hey, stay focused. Enjoy your weekend. Go out and crush it. Bam!